Hey y'all, it's Nico here, and I'm in my garage, and it's a total mess, mainly because I've diving, oh my gosh, because I'm knee deep in this electric bike project, and it's a total hack job. I've got parts off of Amazon, and I got a big lithium 48 volt battery off of Amazon, and like electronics from Amazon, in my experience, are sucky, to say it lightly. But anyways, I'm trying to make it work. I've probably got like $500 into this thing, and last year I really started this project because my son really wanted an electric bike, and I started this project last year, got it all hooked up, and basically like pressed the button, and it had like zero power. It would spin the wheel as long as you weren't sitting on the bike. So I actually went ahead and just bought him a electric bike, which is right there. It's a Swagtron, and it's awesome. It works really well. He can go really fast on it. I can even ride it. Like, I ride it to the store, even though I can't really pedal on it because it's so small. But the electric motor works great. And so what I'm doing, though, is continuing on with this project since I started it and bought all those parts. And this is where it's at right now. So just to give you a little bit of some hope, this is the little trigger, and when I press it, the motor fires right up. So what I've got here is I've got a jigsaw trigger from an old jigsaw that I tore apart. That goes to a starter relay, which is attached to this 48 volt battery, which goes directly to the motor. Pretty simple setup. And actually one piece is I actually have a second battery because I don't want 48 volts going through this little switch. So in order to close the contacts on the starter relay, I have this second battery that just powers the switch, if that makes sense. And then basically once the switch is on, it's providing direct power from this big battery to the motor. So in essence, this big battery isn't going through the switch because it would probably fry that switch pretty fast. Okay, so the next piece of this project is that right there on the shaft, it came with this little sprocket, which is literally like the size of a silver dollar. I can't even find it right now, it's so small, but I had to take it off because it didn't fit this chain. It didn't fit any chain that I had, and we have a lot of bikes around here, and it didn't fit any of the chains. So I decided to try to make a sprocket that will fit the chains that we have around here. So this is the progress that I have. This is actually my first attempt. You can see it's not very circular. This is my second attempt. It's more circular. It probably isn't going to spin perfectly, but I've made a sprocket before. I actually made this over here, which was for the original electric bike, and it's like epoxy, and there's like a nut epoxied in there, and even though it didn't spin perfectly, it did work. So this is actually a couple of peanut butter lids from a jar of Adam's peanut butter, and yeah, I'm actually pretty proud of this silly thing because it's so durable. But it wouldn't work for this application because as you can see, the shaft is just so small. Like it doesn't even come through the shaft. So, hey, there's my wife.
Hi. Yeah.
What's your hat say, babe? Make America deep again.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Just got that.
Hey, I just noticed there's like a dead bird in here. So our cats are actually, well, we don't need them to kill birds. We need them to kill mice. Anyways, so next up on the project list is to cut these. It doesn't look like a sprocket now, but basically when I cut, I'll cut notches here, here and here, here and here, here and all the way around, and then it will look like a sprocket here. And I got to get the grinder out and make those cuts, and then we'll check in after that. All right. Okay, well, I've got it rough cut, and now I'm going to go ahead and trim off those spikes, but it's pretty wild looking. You know, if this doesn't work, which is a high probability that it won't, it'll be a monumental waste of time. But I'm this far into it, and I'm just going to keep going. So let's check it out. Okay, so I got this all cut out, and I kind of tried to see if it would fit the chain, and to me it looks like there's just no way it's going to fit the chain. So even though it sort of looks like a sprocket, it looks like a really poorly done sprocket. It doesn't look too bad from that angle, but it's not good, and it's not going to work. So I'm just going to abandon that idea to try to make this, and I'm going to go back to my original sprocket, which I know fits the chain because it was on there before, and I'm just going to try to press in this nut, this little nut inside that big nut, and then just screw this on to the whole assembly, because that's the nut that came with the electric motor. So just going to try that out. So I actually got this to screw on, and it did turn the wheel, but the alignment wasn't correct, as in the this sprocket was sitting too far out, and so the chain just popped right off. So now I'm going to spin it around and get the sprocket closer to the motor and more in alignment with the chain. And the way I'm going to do that is just press that little nut in further, so that when we're done, this sprocket will sit pretty close to that motor. So let's try that out. Okay, so I've got things kind of rigged up here, and it's definitely like spinning the wheel, going super fast. For some reason, I think it must be the motor. The motor is only allowing me to do short bursts. Oh, there we go. For some reason, that just went full on. So the only problem right now is that I'm in the lowest gear, which is not where I want to be. And the reason I'm doing that is just because my alignment is better that way. So I'm going to have to try to get up to a higher gear and check in after that. Well, kind of bummed. I'm actually kind of pissed. Bummed, pissed, whatever. It just ain't working. It just ain't working. Like I mean, really all of this works really well. Like, I'm happy. When I press the button, the motor spins. Like, that's what you want. You know, I even had the tire going. But the drive line system is just not happening, and I just threw that bike in the back of the truck and I'm taking it to the dump because I'm over it. I'm just over like spending hours and hours on something and it not working. And then even if it worked, it's like cobbled together. It's gonna break on down the line, just like that darn hot tub out there, which just about had it. So I'm actually I fired up my forklift. I'm gonna see if I can pick up the hot tub and take it out to the dump. It's just taken up so much of my time in the last 2-3 years, and it has not returned the favor enough. So I'm hoping this is kind of a shift for me, because I waste so much of my free time tinkering on stuff. And yeah, it's cool, I get it, like it's cool to be able to fix things and create things, but it's a double-edged sword, because my kids are young, I'm still healthy. Why am I doing all this tinkering? I could be going for a run or hanging out with my kids or hanging out with my wife. You know, like, I know it sounds dramatic, but I am literally at the end of my rope, and we are talking about hours and hours and hours and hours of tinkering, and I think I'm just about over it. So hopefully I can turn a corner on this, because it really is time for me to focus my efforts somewhere else, other than, like, you know, these kind of cobbled together projects that they're almost like doomed to fail from the outset. So that's my rant, and hopefully the rest of the day goes better than the first half, which I believe it will, because it usually does. So refocusing my efforts on just getting some dump runs out of the way and trying to clean up our property in anticipation of moving. All right, over and out.